1, 2, 3.
Hello everyone, this is Breno. We are here in Web Summit with this fantastic guy, Jacckes, with a different startup, and we'll talk about your company and what are the biggest challenges. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. So I'm Jacques with Beaky. Beaky is based in Geneva in Switzerland. We're an education technology company, and this is a Beaky box. This is what we do.
Cool, cool. And they were talking to me about Swiss Snacks, that one of the initiatives that, helped us to come in here.
So in fact, the Swiss state, the Confederation as we call it, has a number of initiatives, among which Swiss Snacks, which is really, really helpful for our startups to help us extend into other countries, so as to develop relationships, clients, and so on in these new countries for us.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Can you talk about a little bit of your solution and how you were planning to, get into those Latin America market and how you can impact people's life, especially humanity, sustainability, energy solutions, and especially talking about Brazil. Thinking of favelas, we are in Rio, so we have those kind of situations. How are you planning to deal with?
Yes, exactly. So in fact, the Beaky box enables you to deploy digital classrooms, like my children have at university, based on Wi-Fi, completely offline. When you push a button, in fact, you can hook up 40 people with smartphones, tablets, or whatever, wherever you go, even in a submarine.
Oh.
Yes. So in fact, it means that, of course, for a place like Brazil, it means that if you look at the map of Brazil, there are many places where internet is not. Where you go way away from the coast, the center, of course, but also where it's just way too expensive, or you can't really rely on it, or you can't rely on electricity, on power. And so this is the solution. You can go with this. When you take this, the coverage map of Brazil becomes all green. You can go wherever you want. You push a button and you can teach people.
Okay, so you're probably connecting with GPS signals, or how you're connecting with technology?
It's completely offline. It's like, when you watch a film which you have downloaded on Netflix, for instance, or wherever, on the plane, you're offline, but you're watching a movie. And when you come down again, you tell Netflix, I like romantic comedies, whatever. And so here, in fact, it's the same. So in fact, you load it up with educational material, with courses and so on, and then you're offline. You could go into a submarine, you push a button, you don't need, it does not speak satellite, doesn't speak 3G, 4G. It is completely self-contained.
Do you guys need any cloud system or technology to base those stuff, or it's completely
It's like the iPod 15 years ago, meaning it's nice if from time to time, let's say once a month, for instance, or once a day, whatever, you can connect and then you update. Just like, when you had an iPod and you wanted to update your files, your songs and so on 15 years ago. It's the same system, more or less.
That's fantastic. And are you planning to exactly come to Brazil to this, this new project and talking about, as I talk with you, favelas and these places?
We are in Brazil because we want to be in Brazil. So we're here at Web Summit to find partners, clients, maybe even investors, because here the people know and understand the problem we're solving, which is, do we have internet and power everywhere, and is it cheap enough? Not necessarily. So yes, it can work. Let's say currently it's used for refugees, it's used for migrants to teach them something even when they're on the go, for medical students in some countries, for nurses in places with bad connectivity, children in crisis in Lebanon, for instance. So in fact, in Lebanon, there was war basically, last autumn especially. 500 schools, more than 500 schools were damaged or full of people from the south. Then children cannot learn any longer. And one of our partners, they bought 10 of those. They took 10 of those, took also domes or containers and brought them to places and shipped them around the country to teach children who could not be taught any longer. So we'd get the smartphones from their parents in this case, learn and then give them back to their parents, but they would go to school again. Also for natural disasters and so on, typically, I don't know whether you know this, but when you have a natural disaster, very often you are talking about 30 days lost of school. With this, you can go in and within 7 days you can be up and running as long as you have a teacher. And even without a teacher, people can download.
And without the internet.
Yes, without anything.
Crazy, right?
Yes.
And how was the path to capture some investment, especially talking about a disruptive product, a disruptive solution? So you were breaking a lot of walls.
So
how
in fact,
going?
we are finding that we need the smartest investors. Why? Because this is not a super hyped thing. It's not AI. It's not agentic AI and things like that. But it is a huge problem we're solving in the world, and it's actually also a big market if you look at it from that point of view. And so, in fact, we find that it's the smartest investors entrepreneurs who tell themselves, for instance, families, entrepreneurial families and so on, they look at each other and say, talk to the sister and say, this sounds like it really makes sense and it's also for education and so on, let's invest, and they invest.
Oh, that's really cool. Can you tell us like a case that is inspirational, that you apply this product in, I don't know, in a complicated situation and people completely change their lives?
So completely change their lives to some extent. So, you know, after conflict, people find it difficult to get back to normal life. With their neighbors, but also with themselves. And so one of our clients called Weinstein Foundation International, they are specializing in mediation courses so that people who've gone back from conflict can in fact make peace with everyone else and themselves. And so they give these courses, for instance, in Kakuma refugee camp in northern Kenya. And so, well, I want to say hi to Victor Baba. Victor Baba, he's been learning here in the US and so on, but he is from South Sudan and he's teaching in northern Kenya in this Kakuma huge refugee camp, 200,000 people. It's like a town, but a bit provisional. He uses this to teach people from Somalia, South Sudan, and places which have known conflict, how to deal with it with their neighbors. I mean, normally after conflict, you know, you hate your neighbor perhaps, or you hate yourself. In fact, he teaches them how to deal with this and how to mediate when you have issues. He creates peace. So I find this inspiring.
So if you can resume your biggest plan and challenge for 2025, what would it be?
It is to be as known as possible, because as soon as people who have the problem know us, they say, oh wow, this is useful to me. So that's basically it. So it's be as known as possible, go to as many places as possible like here, and talk to as many people as possible who have the problem so we can help them solve it.
That's absolutely crazy. And just for curiosity, do you have like an average price for a product like this?
Yeah, of course. It starts at $900 this price. And then normally we add, let's say our clients want us to add a little bit of implementation, and a little bit of train the trainers. And sometimes we help them go from a PowerPoint to something which is empirically much more effective in terms of learning outcomes. And that's how it works.
It was a pleasure.
Same here.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.